Are our leaders shaping public institutions and perceptions with British guilt? In this video, my Graham and Chloe Dobbs address HMRC and NHS guilt of being British seminars. We'll also look into the leadership principles of identity and priorities. Before we get into the details, if you love diving into political issues and enjoy hearing a principled take on them, then hit the like button, share this video, and subscribe to join the conversation. It will help our channel reach a wider audience.
No, I suppose HMRC and the British guilt classes probably strikes me as the most amusing story this morning. HM Revenue Customs able to log on to an online session during office hours yesterday, prompting a furious backlash. Tory leader Kemi Badenoch describing it as nonsense. This goes on all the time in Whitehall, doesn't it? You've basically got loads and loads of woke people with nothing better to do than go, I know, let's have a seminar on how awful it is to be British, and, you know, whether you're white or whether you're black or whether you're guilty or whether, you know, what are they doing?
I mean, complete waste of time. I mean, no good private company would use their resources having staff during their working hours going to some seminar on the guilt of being British.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just crazy. Yeah. And then we also, so you've got HMRC where you can't get them to answer the phone.
No.
They really should be prioritising that rather than this, right? And then you've got the NHS, where apparently we lost 26,000 NHS working hours to people attending woke events, which also cost a lot of money to run. And it's all this same sort of stuff like guilt of being British, white privilege, DEI, transphobia, this and that, right? I mean, it's just a complete and utter waste.
It really is.
And when the taxpayer's paying for it, I mean, as I said, a good private company would never do this. But if a private company does decide to do this stuff, I think fine, they want to waste their money, that's okay. But when it's taxpayers' money and you can't get an adequate service from them, they won't answer the phone and you can't get an NHS appointment, it's just taking us
It's mad, isn't it? This thing that they had yesterday was the Guilt of Being British listening circle from 11 a.m. until noon, run by the HMRC Race Network. I didn't know there was one of those. It was billed as a powerful, interactive and reflective listening circle exploring the emotional complexity of being South Asian and British. Covering topics including the emotional weight of colonial history and inherited trauma. Have you got any inherited trauma?
No, I don't
think I have either. My
although apparently you've got epigenetics, and if your mother is, say, stressed while she's carrying you as a baby, that can get passed down to you.
Yeah, my mother, I think, wasn't stressed in particular because in those days people didn't get stressed, you know, they just got on with it. But my parents were Scottish, so I might be able to claim some kind of colonial, backlash in my previous life from when, England and Scotland were at war. Perhaps the Battle of Culloden or something like that. I could go, no, I'm definitely traumatised by that historically.
Yeah, nowadays young lot are stressed out if the train is 2 minutes late or whatnot.
I'm stressed out. I have to go to work. I have to get out of the house. I mean,
they're saying I have to go into work. I can't. I mean, these civil servants, what they were going to... Have they gone on strike about this, having to go in 2 days a week?
Well, yeah, they don't want to go in more than 2 days a week.
I know, they think that's horrible to have to go in for half of the week.
I know, absolutely ridiculous. Earlier this year, a report by the Commons Public Accounts Committee found that HMRC answered just 66.4% of customers' calls to advisors, well below the target of 85%. Performance has reached an all-time low, apparently, in HMRC. Around 40,000 people who had been on hold for more than 70 minutes were cut off without an explanation. We've all had that, you know.
I was on the verge of tears the other day trying to get hold of Scottish Power, and they just kept saying, we'll direct you to someone, and then hanging up on me and having to start again.
Happens a lot, doesn't it?
There's nothing worse than having to wait on the phone. And, I mean, Rachel Reeves, she's got a lot of money to find, as we're now finding out. There's apparently a 50 billion black hole. Maybe it would be a good idea for the tax service to answer the phone to people who are trying to pay their taxes.
Yes, because then they could get more money in, couldn't they? As opposed to just announcing they're putting more taxes on. Because on the front page of the Telegraph, Starmer's pledge on tax thrown into chaos. He was out and about yesterday, and we'll have a couple of clips from him. I think we've got one here. Asked about tax rises in the autumn budget. Here we go.
In the autumn, we'll get the full forecasts and obviously set out our budget. The focus will be living standards, and we will build on what we've done in the first year of this government. We've stabilised the economy, and that means interest rates have been cut now 4 times. And for anybody watching this on a mortgage, that makes a huge difference on a monthly basis to how much they pay. In the first year, we've raised wages as well, both in the private sector plus the minimum wage, which means people have got a bit more money coming into their pocket. And so at this stage, wage, that'll all be set out in the budget, but the focus will very much be on living standards and making sure people feel better off. Some of the figures that have been put out are not figures that I recognise, but the budget won't be until later in the year, and that's why we'll have the forecast then, and we'll set out our plans. What's really important is that I'm very clear about our focus, which will be on living standards and making sure that people feel better off, partly because more money is coming into their pocket in the first place through better wages, and partly because we're bearing down on costs like mortgages and other costs to everyday families.
Everyday families now? Is that what's an
everyday family?
Hello, I'm from an everyday family. The focus, I'm very clear about this. He literally spoke for about a minute and a bit there and said nothing. There's nothing in that, is there? Focus.
It's just babble. It's just lies. I mean,
it's not rubbish. He doesn't recognise the £50 billion black hole, because if the £22 billion black hole was the Tories' fault, even though it didn't exist, whose fault is the £50 billion black hole? Because that's quite significantly more than 22, seems to me.
It's definitely Rachel Reeves's fault, and we all know it. They can't keep parroting the same line that it's the Tories' fault any longer. And I mean, him saying there, the focus is going to be on raising living standards. Right. First of all, that's very vague on purpose.
Yeah, very vague. Also, people are not better off, right?
No.
He gave public sector workers a pay rise, so they're probably better off, but everybody else is worse off.
I mean, he's saying that, we've raised the minimum wage, which means people have got more money in their pockets. And I'm like, hang on, you've got companies, especially companies who hire a lot of minimum wage staff, like, say, a pub or a cafe or a restaurant, right? Yeah. They're having to fire a load of people because they've got a load more money to make up from the national insurance hike and the big hike in the national minimum wage, right? That means that there are fewer jobs going around. And there's another story on our list somewhere today where you've got some polling done of young people who are all saying we don't think that the situation is going to get any better. We think there's no hope of getting a job. Yeah. And they say we're going to get Britain working, right? How are you meant to get Britain working if all of the companies are currently firing people and not hiring anymore because they've got this huge national insurance bill and a big minimum wage hike to factor into their costs?
And also they're worried now about what's going to happen in the autumn, because even though he says we're going to wait till the autumn to decide, which our focus was going to be on, but the point is that nobody's investing in business because they don't know what the tax regime is going to be like come October and November. So they don't want to spend any money. They don't want to speculate about the fact that there could be a worse state of the economy. And as far as interest rates coming down, there's nothing to do with Starmer. There's everything to do with the Bank of England. They might be reducing them today, apparently. But at the end of the day, that is outside of the government's control. They haven't stabilised the economy, as he says. The economy is in the absolute crapper.
I mean, that couldn't be further from the truth what he said, right? He is taking credit and saying, we've stabilised the economy, we've done well with the economy, therefore the interest rate is being cut. It's the complete opposite, actually. The reason why they're cutting the interest rate is because the economy hasn't grown. It's Rachel Reeves said, it's stagnated. I mean, we had 2 months of negative growth, right? That is why the rate is being cut, because they've done so poorly with the economy that they desperately need to do something to start boosting economic growth.
Are the HMRC and the NHS holding seminars on British guilt during work hours? It's a misuse of time that should be spent serving the public. Instead of answering calls to secure the revenue Britain needs, HMRC is caught up in political identity-driven agendas. Meanwhile, the NHS's focus on these seminars explained why so many struggle to get appointments. This is a failure of leadership, one that has lost sight of priorities and identity. When leaders in these institutions prioritize wokeness over their core purpose, they're not just wasting resources, they're undermining the public's trust. HMRC should be ensuring economic stability, not debating national guilt. The NHS should be booking appointments, not cancelling them to push ideological sessions. This misfocus reveals a deeper issue. Leaders who don't understand their own identity and purpose are reshaping our national identity in ways that don't serve the people. Which government leaders approved these seminars? Why haven't they spoken out against them? Silence implies agreement. When those in power lack clarity on their own identity and purpose, they push policies and cultural shifts that ripple outward, poisoning the nation's sense of self. If disdain for Britain's identity starts in one or two departments, it can spread, reshaping laws, policies, and ultimately our culture. We can't stand by and let a small group unaware of their own purpose and identity redefine who we are as a people. Dr. Miles Monroe said, "Where purpose is not known, abuse is inevitable." HMRC and the NHS have lost sight of their purpose: to serve the public's economic and health needs. This abuse of time and resources sidelines priorities, costing lives at the NHS and economic health at HMRC. It's time for our institutions to realign with their true purpose. Let's demand leadership that knows its identity, sets clear priorities, and deliver dependable service where taxes are fair, queries are answered, and appointments are kept. Don't be afraid to speak out, and let's hold our leaders accountable to Britain's true priorities. If you have benefited in any way from this video, please subscribe, like, share, and be sure to leave us a comment.